I forgot to mention in my other video how Debra Messing's group that she has ties to, the communist group, RevCom, they also have, so she signed that petition for them that I showed in my other video, but they also have something in their constitution that's a little bit racist.
Oh, well, people need to be awake and they need to be aware.
So at one point I had done a search for other people talking about Revolutionary Communist Party and Sarah Taylor, and I found this guy, Repentant Conservative, who has 19 subscribers, pretty decent content, and it says no content, but when you click videos, voila! So you can see like some of his videos, like he's just kind of sitting in the dark and talking, but anyway, I found him from, I think, this video. Sarah Taylor is a liar and humiliates Baba Vakian. Well, she's like the spokesperson, like I said, and that's his group. So if you want to learn more about RevCom, I recommend coming over here and looking at some of these. So I put this video on, and it's over here. I put it on my playlist, my Debra Messing playlist, so it wouldn't make sense, but I'm going to explain to you why it makes sense. So she signed a petition with RevCom saying that, you know, Trump is a fascist, this and that. I think it was under their Refuse Fascism label, but it's basically the same people. She signed that petition, and then now it's like 2.5 years later, and she's saying Trump is a racist, but meanwhile she signed the petition with this group, and this group is racist. So this is a good video. I'm going to link it, and it's also in the playlist. I'm going to put this in the Debra Messing playlist. So you got to watch this guy's video. So he goes through how they had resettlements in Russia, in the USSR, excuse me, when communist Russia, not regular Russia, where they resettled according to ethnicity. And I actually knew a bit about this anyway, because I live in a neighborhood where, I'm giving away where, well, no, because all the Jewish neighborhoods in Queens, and I've already said that I'm Jewish and live in Queens, all of the Jewish neighborhoods in Queens have a lot of people from the former USSR, and they ended up in not Russia when the USSR broke down and became separate countries. They ended up in Uzbekistan, and I think the other one is Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is when they tend to be richer, like really affluent, but I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule. But and then also those are Muslim areas now. So basically what it was people who didn't fit, you know, the ideal, they resettled them. So people who were Jewish got resettled to those areas. People who were Muslim, I think, also got resettled into those areas. Or maybe the Muslims worked their way up, because Uzbekistan is kind of up from Afghanistan and Pakistan. It's in that Istan area, as you can figure out by the name. So they're kind of in that area, so they have a lot of Muslim influence, and they're coming to the U.S. to get away from the Muslims, and they came earlier to get away from communism. So I have talked to these people. I should try to get interviews with these people to get them to talk about what communism was like. I think I've tried, but a lot of people don't want to go on camera and talk about it. So they're kind of like, they don't really know where to start. I guess I'd have to have good questions. But a lot of these people, they're just like, just give me the questions and I'll answer. Like, they don't want to do like a back and forth interview. Or like just tell their story like that. They want like very specific questions. So even if you have some to start with, you can't like clarify, and that's what I wanted to be able to do. So anyway, so he talked about, this is him going through how You see here, Wikipedia, forced settlements in the Soviet Union. So they did that, and that's what I was just talking about. And that is important because that's part of communism. That's socialism. And lo and behold, he goes over to the RevCom Constitution, which I have covered in videos, but I covered different sections. I didn't cover this particular section. And I don't really have to because this guy covers it really well. He basically puts out a video very similar to mine, except, you know, he's a guy and he has his actual video in the corner. But, like, he lays out the groundwork similar to how I would have done, where he shows it in the Soviet Union. And I'm torn with, like, using Wikipedia as a source. You see me use it a lot. But on the one hand, one reason why it's valid here is, you can hear, I live in earshot of the LaGuardia Airport, and you can hear the airplane. Well, I can. I don't know if you can hear that on the mic. But anyway, I have my window open because it's still kind of hot. Anyway, then he goes through and he pulls it up in the Commie Constitution, which is what I would do if I was recording my own video on this. I would lay the groundwork with the Wikipedia. And, oh, that's what I was going to say before I got distracted by the plane. So, Wikipedia is very left-leaning because the mods are left-leaning. So if you try to input truthful information that is generous to somebody on the right, the mods will come in and, like, lock down the article and, like, change it. So, I mean, in theory, it's anybody who can provide edits in Wikipedia, but in reality, they have a very, very left-leaning moderator force that will come after you if you try to put, you know, the truth about anybody right-leaning. They smear people on the right, left and right, and they're very generous to people on the left. Like, anybody on the right, unless you're, like, super, super establishment and, you know, basically don't do anything but, like, you know, support low taxes. That's, like, all they'll give you for you to just be on the right. If you support anything with any kind of teeth in it and you're on the right, they're going to take the article about you and they're going to say, far right! I mean, if you're on my channel, you're probably already familiar with this, but hey, maybe you just stumbled upon my channel and you're not quite initiated to the political climate. But the political climate right now is basically, they accuse people of being far right for the littlest thing. For example, anti-communist. Okay, I'm middle-aged, I know I don't sound it. I grew up, like, my early childhood, the Soviet Union fell, I think, when I was in high school. Where it started falling, like, late elementary school. So I grew up with Reagan and the Gorbachev talks. So I grew up very consciously that, you know, the world was not for communism. And yet, we have this now. We have young people, especially, I think the millennials are worse than Gen Z. Because Gen Z, when you actually talk to these people, a lot of times they're like, I want nothing to do with politics, because they're ramming it down my throat. So they're kind of moving to the right simply because it's been rammed down their throat way more, whereas they were doing it with probably a better delicate balance for their side with millennials. Okay, I'm going way off topic. So watch this guy's video. So then he talks about how in the RevCom Constitution, how they wanted to separate African Americans out, which also was talked about by Claire Lopez. When she did a video on the red-green axis of power, she mentioned, she was in South Carolina, and she mentioned that there were 5 states that they want to turn into, like, the black, you know, country and break it off from the U.S. So one of them is South Carolina, so I'm guessing Georgia probably, because it's next to South Carolina. So 5 states in that area, probably 5 states where I would guess that Georgia would be one of them. but I don't know if, like, South Carolina's on the edge or what. I know that South Carolina is one of them, and that there's 5 states that they want to give over to the blacks if they could ever get their way. Seems like Maryland would probably make sense. Maryland has a large black population, except for in, like, the most rural of rural areas, from what I'm understanding. I haven't really been there, but I've heard this repeatedly from different people who live there. Anyway, so he covers this. See, African Americans. There's something in here also. There we go. Yes, the Hispanics they want to put out west. So what was the southwest region of the former United States? They wrote their Constitution as if they had already overthrown our government. So what was the former southwest region of the United States of America? Was seized by that country as part of the expansion of their slave system and relations and other relations of exploitation and oppression through armed conquest, including war against Mexico. Of course, they're, like, totally distorting the history. But anyway, so they're basically going to give it all to Hispanics. So, you know, as much as they claim to love all minorities so much, that means if somebody is black and lives in California and the commies actually successfully overthrow the United States, they'll move you too. I mean, they're already kind of moving people. Compton isn't even black anymore. It's been taken over by Hispanics, in case you didn't know. This has been covered a few times by the RKTNN channel, which is, he's a black guy who, he works in IT, and then he also YouTubes on the side, and his primary topic that he hones in on is, like, immigration, invasion type stuff. And so he moved to, like, an hour from Detroit, I think, or 45 minutes from Detroit in Michigan. He said he's in, like, a white suburban area in Michigan. He said one time, I looked it up, I don't remember where it was. It was kind of near Detroit, but not too close to Detroit. And so he moved there, and he used to live, I'm not sure if it was, I don't think it was in LA. I think it was in, like, the suburbs of LA. And he had grown up in that area. And so he also speaks some Spanish. And he talked about how when he was growing up, they would go see an aunt, I think, who was living in a black area. And as they would go to see his aunt, I think every Sunday or every Saturday or something, his mom would take him to go see this aunt, or maybe it was his grandmother. You get the point. Go to see this family person who was dying, who lived in this previously black neighborhood, and he watched the neighborhood turn. Like, every week it was, like, more and more, and he said that neighborhood is, like, not a black neighborhood anymore. This relative, I believe, has passed away a few years now. Maybe even more than a few years. So anyway, he talked about that one time on his channel. His videos are very, very long, so I don't watch him very often. I say that as I'm making this video that's 13 minutes, and it should really be like a 2-3 minute video. Anyway, you get my point. You can go watch this video, which is, like I said, it's kind of similar to how I lay out my videos. Repentant Conservative, go subscribe to this guy, even though he barely ever puts out content, and watch his videos about RevCom, because they're very good. I recommend them. So I had asked him to do a collab with me, because that was something I used to specialize in. So he never, but he did reply to one of my comments. You see all the comments on here? They're all from me. I told him to also collab with Alicia. But he has a few other videos besides this one that I recommend watching. Like, people might like this, which isn't, but he covered the Antifa handbook. He covered Sarah Taylor here and here. This video that I'm already, so those are all related to stuff I cover. And then This stuff is more random. So, anyway, yeah, check him out. I think you'll like his channel. I think he's criminally undersubbed at 19 subscribers. So, but definitely he needs better lighting than these two videos. He needs to turn on some lights. Anyway, alright. Thanks for stopping by my channel. I will see you all next time.
People need to be awake and they need. People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. People need to be awake. People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against this stuff.
And it's so politically engaged.
And it's so politically engaged.